Reinhard Heydrich was one of the most feared figures in the Nazi regime, serving as Heinrich Himmler's second-in-command and a key architect of the Holocaust. Even Hitler called him the man with the iron heart. Born into a middle-class musical family, he was raised with strong anti-Semitic views, partly fueled by his father's frustrations over a rumored Jewish background. He joined the Nazi Party in 1931, gaining Himmler's trust with his intelligence expertise, which led to his rapid rise in the SS. As chief of the Reich Security Main Office, he controlled the Gestapo, Kripo and SD, overseeing Nazi secret police operations. Heydrich helped orchestrate the Night of the Long Knives, taking out internal rivals of the SA, planned the Kristallnacht pogrom, and staged the Gleiwitz incident to justify invading Poland. Heydrich was instrumental in planning the final solution at the Wannsee Conference and directly oversaw the Einsatzgruppen, which murdered millions. He ruled Bohemia and Moravia with such brutality that he earned the title Butcher of Prague. His assassination by Czech partisans in 1942 led to brutal reprisals, including the massacre of Lidis. His death also pushed the Allies to tear up the Munich Agreement and ultimately ensured Czechoslovakia's post-war survival. Joseph Goebbels was the Nazi Party's chief propagandist, responsible for manipulating public opinion through censorship, propaganda films and fabricated news. He played a key role in spreading Nazi ideology, convincing millions to support Hitler and advocating for the extermination of Jews. He was one of Hitler's closest and most fanatical followers, known for his powerful speeches and relentless anti-Semitism. Born with a deformed foot that kept him out of World War I, Goebbels initially aspired to be a writer, earning a doctorate in philology before joining the Nazi Party in 1924. In 1926, he became Gauleiter, or district leader of Berlin, gaining control over the SA and SS in the region. As Minister of Propaganda from 1933, Goebbels dominated Germany's media, censoring anything that didn't align with Nazi ideals. He used radio and film to spread anti-Jewish sentiment, creating The Eternal Jew, a film portraying Jews as subhuman. In 1938, after German diplomat Ernst vom Rath was assassinated in Paris by a Jew, Goebbels sparked the Night of Broken Glass, resulting in deaths, deportations to concentration camps and burned synagogues. Despite his obsession with Nazi racial ideology, he described Himmler's racial theories as mad and Rosenberg's as ridiculous. During World War II, he pushed for total war, urging mass mobilization and encouraging civilians, including children and the elderly, to fight to the death. After Hitler's suicide in 1945, Goebbels was Reich Chancellor for one day before poisoning his wife and 6 children, then himself. Adolf Hitler was an Austrian-born politician who became the dictator of Nazi Germany from 1933 until his suicide in 1945. He was an extremely effective public speaker who built his political career on populist rhetoric, scapegoating, and radical nationalism. Born into a working-class family, Hitler lived his early years as a homeless drifter in Vienna after being rejected from art school. When World War I broke out, he volunteered to fight for Germany. Serving as a dispatch runner, he was decorated for bravery, earning the Iron Cross. After the war, Hitler joined the German Workers' Party in 1919, impressing Chairman Anton Drexler with his fiery speeches. His beer hall tirades attracted followers like Rudolf Hess, Hermann Göring and Ernst Röhm, and he soon took over the party, rebranding it as the National Socialist German Workers' Party. His ideology was rooted in anti-Semitism, as evidenced by a 1919 letter in which he called for the total removal of Jews. In 1923, Hitler attempted a coup, marching with his followers to overthrow the Bavarian government. It failed, and he was arrested for high treason, serving a year in prison. During this time, he wrote Mein Kampf, outlining his political beliefs. After his release, he built the Nazi Party, expanding its influence in northern Germany. The Great Depression provided a perfect political opportunity as Germany's struggling economy fueled public frustration. After multiple elections, Hitler was appointed Chancellor in 1933. Once in power, he dismantled democracy, outlawed opposition and declared himself Führer. taking full control of Germany, even crushing internal rivals like Ernst Röhm in the 1934 Night of the Long Knives. While he spearheaded massive infrastructure projects like highways and railroads, his focus was on military expansion, rearmament and war preparation. He backed Franco in the Spanish Civil War, annexed Austria in 1938 and pushed for the ethnic German population of the Sudetenland region in Czechoslovakia. In 1939, he signed the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact with Stalin to carve up Eastern Europe, then invaded Poland, triggering World War II. His vision of a Nazi empire led to the Holocaust, one of history's greatest atrocities. As Germany faced defeat in 1945, Hitler married Eva Braun in his bunker before taking his own life. Heinrich Himmler was one of the most powerful figures in Nazi Germany and a key architect of the Holocaust. He transformed the SS from a small bodyguard unit into a massive organization that enforced Nazi racial policies, controlled concentration camps, and operated death squads. Born into a devout Catholic family, Himmler was an excellent student and deeply fascinated by Germanic and Teutonic ideals. After World War I, he joined a Freikorps unit to fight communists and became influenced by anti-Semitic propaganda. He joined the Nazi Party in 1923, participated in the Beer Hall Putsch, and later joined the SS in 1925. By 1929, Hitler gave him full control over the organization. Under Himmler, the SS expanded massively and took charge of Nazi racial policies targeting Jews, Freemasons, Jesuits, and other so-called undesirables. He even implemented a procreation order, encouraging SS soldiers to father many children and rejecting monogamy. By 1943, he was also Minister of the Interior, overseeing police and security forces. He controlled the Waffen-SS, which fought alongside the Wehrmacht in World War II. Himmler sought to make mass killings more efficient to prevent soldiers from being psychologically affected. He played a direct role in the final solution, selecting Auschwitz as a primary extermination site. He also commissioned Generalplan Ost, a blueprint for genocide in Eastern Europe which led to the deaths of millions. Near the end of the war, sensing defeat, he secretly attempted to negotiate peace with the Western Allies, offering to surrender the Western Front to spare German lives. When Hitler discovered this, he dismissed Himmler and ordered his arrest. Captured by the British while trying to go into hiding, Himmler committed suicide in May 1945. Hermann Göring was a German Nazi politician, military leader and convicted war criminal serving as supreme commander of the Luftwaffe and one of Hitler's most powerful deputies. A decorated World War I fighter ace, he came from a privileged background, even having a wealthy Jewish godfather. After joining the Nazi Party in 1922, he briefly commanded the SA until its suppression after the Beer Hall Putsch, later holding senior ranks without leading it. Wounded in the Beer Hall Putsch, he developed a lifelong morphine addiction. When Hitler rose to power in 1933, Göring gained multiple high-ranking positions, including Minister-President of Prussia, and played a key role in taking out Ernst Röhm to consolidate Hitler's rule. He also oversaw horrific Luftwaffe experiments on concentration camp prisoners, testing survival limits for pilots while indulging in a lavish lifestyle, amassing a fortune in stolen art. Tasked with secretly building up Germany's air force, he oversaw the rapid expansion of the Luftwaffe, which was initially successful but later failed in key battles like the Battle of Britain and Stalingrad. His influence declined further when the Luftwaffe was incapable of preventing the Allied bombing of Germany. In April 1945, he attempted to assume leadership, prompting Hitler to expel him from the party and order his arrest. Captured by US forces, he was sentenced to death, but took his life with cyanide the night before his execution. Rudolf Hess was a high-ranking Nazi politician and Hitler's deputy Führer until 1941. Born in Egypt to a wealthy German family, then under British occupation, he admired the British Empire from a young age. After serving in World War I and earning the Iron Cross, he became involved in extremist politics, joining the Freikorps, the Thule Society and later the Nazi Party. He studied geopolitics under Karl Haushofer, whose ideas on expansionist Lebensraum, living space, influenced Nazi ideology. Hess was imprisoned with Hitler after the failed beer hall putsch and helped him to write Mein Kampf. After the Nazis took power, he gained extensive authority over party affairs, but his influence declined as World War II began. Hess was deeply committed to Nazi beliefs, advocating for the racial superiority of Germans and helping implement anti-Jewish laws. As the war broke out, Hess was completely sidelined, excluded from decisions, and Bormann took his place at Hitler's side. Hess was also concerned about the two-front war that Germany went into. Then, in 1941, he made a bizarre solo flight to Scotland, parachuting out of his airplane, hoping to negotiate peace, but was arrested and held as a prisoner for the rest of the war. Convicted of crimes against peace at Nuremberg, he was sentenced to life in Spandau prison, where the Soviets blocked any attempts for his release. He remained the sole inmate until 1987, when he took his life at 93. To prevent his grave from becoming a neo-Nazi shrine, authorities later exhumed and cremated his remains. Joachim von Ribbentrop was a diplomat who served as Nazi Germany's Minister of Foreign Affairs. Frequently traveling, he developed language skills and an understanding of foreign nations that later shaped his political career. During World War I, he fought on both fronts and befriended Franz von Papen. He hesitated before joining the Nazi Party in 1932, but quickly gained influence by facilitating negotiations between Hitler and Chancellor von Papen, which led to Hitler's appointment as Chancellor in 1933. Offering his estate, Schloss Fuschl, for secret Nazi meetings, Ribbentrop positioned himself as a foreign affairs expert, though many party members found him shallow and untalented. Göbbels said, "Von Ribbentrop bought his name, he married his money and swindled his way into office." But his eagerness to align with Hitler's views earned him key positions, first as ambassador to the United Kingdom in 1936 and then as foreign minister in 1938. He forged important international agreements such as the Anglo-German Naval Agreement, the Anti-Comintern Pact, the Pact of Steel with Fascist Italy, and most notably the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact with the Soviet Union, which secured Germany's eastern flank and paved the way for the invasion of Poland in 1939. Ribbentrop was also instrumental in Germany's annexation of Czechoslovakia and the Lithuanian city of Memel, and he initially advocated for maintaining good relations with the Soviet Union, opposing Hitler's eventual invasion. By 1941, his influence declined as military concerns overshadowed diplomacy, but he worked fervently to push Japan into war with the United States and supported Germany's declaration of war after the attack on Pearl Harbor. His role in the Holocaust remains debated, with some suggesting his anti-Semitism was feigned to gain Hitler's favor. Captured in June 1945, Ribbentrop was tried at Nuremberg and sentenced to death. In his final statement, he said the only guilt he felt before the German people, not this court, was that his foreign policy had failed. He was the first of the Nuremberg defendants to be hanged. Ernst Röhm was a German military officer and key figure in the early Nazi Party. A close friend of Adolf Hitler, he was the only Nazi leader who addressed Hitler informally as Adolf or Adi. In 1919, he joined the German Workers' Party, the precursor of the Nazi Party, and became instrumental in organizing its early armed wing. Using his military connections, he helped build paramilitary groups for Hitler, one of which became the Sturmabteilung. In 1923, he participated in Hitler's failed beer hall putsch. However, by 1925, he broke with Hitler over the direction of the party and left for Bolivia. In 1930, Hitler invited him back to Germany, appointing him leader of the SA in 1931. Under Röhm's leadership, the SA grew into a violent force of over 1 million members, intimidating political opponents, communists and Jews, playing a key role in Hitler's rise to power. As Hitler became Chancellor, Röhm was appointed Reichsleiter, the second highest rank in the Nazi Party. However, his calls for a second revolution to reshape German society and his demand that the SA replace the Reichswehr as Germany's primary military force alienated Hitler's conservative allies and the army leadership, who saw the SA as a disorganized mob. The SA's 3 million members compared to the Reichswehr's 100,000 men alarmed traditional military officers. Röhm's increasingly radical stance combined with his open homosexuality made him a political liability. By 1934, Hitler saw him as a dangerous rival and, with the support of SS leaders Himmler and Heydrich, decided to eliminate him. During the Night of the Long Knives, Röhm and the SA leadership were purged, solidifying Hitler's alliance with the German military. Theodor Eicke was a ruthless enforcer and Waffen-SS commander. A veteran of World War I, he joined the Nazi Party in 1928 and quickly rose through the ranks of the SS, where his loyalty and brutality caught the attention of Himmler. In 1933, he became the second commandant of the Dachau concentration camp, where he implemented a harsh disciplinary system that became the model for all Nazi concentration camps. Eicke, together with his adjutant Michael Lippert, was one of the executioners of SA chief Ernst Röhm. Later, he was appointed the first concentration camp's inspector, restructuring the camp system and creating the Death's Head units. His policies standardized extreme brutality, turning the camps into instruments of oppression and, later, genocide. The Death's Head units became notorious for their cruelty and played a critical role in the Holocaust. During World War II, Eicke transitioned into a military role, forming and commanding the SS division Totenkopf in the Waffen-SS. His division saw action on both fronts, gaining a reputation for fanaticism and involvement in war crimes. Eicke was killed in 1943 when his plane was shot down during the Third Battle of Kharkov. Alfred Jodl served as the chief of the German Armed Forces High Command. Beginning his military career in the Bavarian Army in 1910, he rose through the ranks and played a crucial role in the secret rearmament of the German military, violating the Treaty of Versailles. By 1939, Jodl was a key planner under Hitler, appointed Chief of the Armed Forces High Command before the Poland invasion. He also played an important role in the invasions of Denmark and Norway in 1940. After the fall of France, he expressed confidence in a swift victory over Britain. His influence continued as he signed the infamous Commando Order, which authorized the execution of captured enemy special operations troops without trial, and the Kommissar Order, which instructed German forces to execute Soviet political commissars as enforcers of Judeo-Bolshevism. Following Hitler's death, Grand Admiral Karl Dönitz dispatched Jodl to negotiate Germany's surrender. On May 7, 1945, he signed the unconditional surrender of German forces. Arrested by British troops, Jodl was sentenced to death by hanging. Ernst Kaltenbrunner joined the Nazi Party in 1930 and the SS in 1931, quickly rising through the ranks to become a leader of the Austrian SS by 1935. He had direct contact with Himmler, undermining the political system from within. He assisted in the Anschluss of Austria in 1938 and was given command of the SS and police forces, consolidating Nazi power in the region. Following the assassination of Heydrich in 1942, Kaltenbrunner was appointed chief of the Reich Security Main Office, overseeing the Gestapo, Kripo and security service. He oversaw the deportation and murder of Jews in occupied Greece, the liquidation of Jewish ghettos in Eastern Europe, and the deportation of Italy's Jews. Kaltenbrunner was also involved in Operation Long Jump, a failed Nazi plan to assassinate Allied leaders Churchill, Roosevelt and Stalin. For his role in suppressing resistance movements and investigating conspiracies against the Nazi regime, he was awarded numerous badges. As the highest-ranking SS officer to face trial at Nuremberg, he was found guilty of war crimes and crimes against humanity. In 1946, Ernst Kaltenbrunner was executed by hanging. Baldur von Schirach was a politician who led the Hitler Youth and later served as Gauleiter of Vienna, overseeing the deportation of thousands of Jews. Born in Berlin to a noble family, he was more American than German. He spoke English before learning German and had ancestors who had fought in the American Civil War and signed the Declaration of Independence. Had history unfolded differently, he might have served President Roosevelt rather than Hitler, but he was drawn to Nazism from a young age, joining the Nazi Party on his 18th birthday. Making an ally of Joseph Goebbels and using bureaucratic maneuvering to gain power within the youth wing of the party, he eventually became the Reich youth leader in 1933. As head of the Hitler Youth, he indoctrinated young Germans with Nazi ideology, promoting militarism, racism, anti-Semitism and rigid gender roles. In 1940, he oversaw the deportation of 65,000 Viennese Jews to Nazi concentration camps. Though he later claimed to have objected to the conditions of the deportation, he fully supported and enforced the policy. His wife, Henriette, confronted Hitler after witnessing Jewish women and children being deported in the Netherlands, leading to their ostracization. As the Red Army closed in on Vienna in April 1945, Schirach delivered a final broadcast urging the population to fight to the last man before fleeing the city disguised in an army lieutenant's uniform. Captured by American forces, he was sentenced to 20 years for his crimes. Upon release from Spandau prison in '66, he lived quietly in southern Germany until his death in 1974 from a heart attack. Albert Speer was Hitler's architect, known for his central role in sustaining the Nazi war machine. Joining the Nazi Party in 1931, he gained prominence for his architectural designs, including the Reich Chancellery. His talent in managing Nazi rallies brought him into Hitler's inner circle, and in 1937 he was appointed General Building Inspector for Berlin, overseeing the eviction of Jewish tenants to clear space for his Grand Germania project, the planned world capital of the Nazi Empire. Speer extensively used slave labor in his construction projects. In 1942, after the death of Fritz Todt, Speer took over as Minister of Armaments and War Production, cranking out tanks and V-2 rockets with forced labor. He was convicted of war crimes but escaped the death penalty, serving 20 years in prison. Upon his release, he published 2 best-selling autobiographies, crafting an image of himself as a technician who regretted his involvement. For decades, this Speer myth shielded him from condemnation faced by other top Nazis, but later evidence, like his presence at Himmler's 1943 Posen speech, proved he knew about the Holocaust. He died of a stroke in 1981. Martin Bormann was Hitler's private secretary and head of the Nazi Party Chancellery, wielding immense power by controlling access to Hitler and managing his bureaucracy. Hated within Hitler's inner circle for his ruthless scheming, he manipulated his way to becoming one of Hitler's most trusted confidants. Bormann left school early, studied agriculture, and joined the paramilitary Freikorps in 1922. Joining the Nazi Party in 1927, he worked in party administration, eventually catching Hitler's attention through his marriage to Gerda Buch, the daughter of a key Nazi official. He became Hesse's chief of staff before fully assuming Hesse's duties in 1941. He had control over domestic policy, approved legislation, and was a driving force behind the persecution of Jews and Slavs. A master manipulator, he guided Hitler's policies, encouraged officers to spy on each other, and opposed education. He was also known for his numerous mistresses and children outside of marriage. After the failed 1944 assassination attempt on Hitler, he led brutal reprisals, executing over 200 people. As the war neared its end, Bormann remained loyal to Hitler. Following Hitler's suicide, he attempted to flee Berlin but likely took his own life. His remains remained undiscovered until 1973.